Hey, this is WhyBeAre with BeamNG.drive, and today we're going to be taking a look at a mod for the Pigeon called the 60s Pigeon, which adds the 1973 base and 1973 base diesel pigeons to the game. It's kind of funny, isn't it? It's called the 60s Pigeon, but the one you actually get to drive is from 1973, although the design does look like it's from the 60s, so you just assume it's at the end of the model run. And before we drive this thing, we're going to take a closer look at the exterior. The first thing I noticed about this vehicle is it has a lot of chrome. It's got a chrome rear bumper, chrome fender flares, chrome on the little piece that holds the mirror on, chrome on the headlights, a chrome front bumper, chrome on the grille, and then even a little bit of chrome on the itty bitty piece that holds the blinker on. And that piece does function. You see I turn it on, it blinks. You turn it off, it stops blinking. Speaking of lights, over on the rear we have these lights in the rear bumper, and apparently the car decided to stall out right there, but we got lights in the rear bumper. And I think it looks pretty neat, just having lights in an unusual place like that. The license plate's also in a little bit of an unusual place. It's offset. Then we got a giant Ibishu logo on the rear. That thing is huge. Like, you're proud of your Ibishu. That's why I got so much chrome on it. And also, this is one of those things, I don't know why, I don't know if it's right or not, but I swear, the bed of this thing does not look flat. It looks bumpy, and I have no idea why. I thought maybe it was damaged the first time I saw it like that, but it just seems to always look like that. Anyway, so how does this thing drive? It drives exactly like a Pigeon. It wants to tip over all the time, and your job is to make sure it doesn't tip over. You are the Pigeon Wrangler. And right now, I want to wrangle this thing to a high speed. And once we do that, we'll wrangle it into a roll. So 60 miles per hour is a high speed. Next corner, we roll. All right, well, it actually really didn't want to roll over that badly for how fast we were going. Try to get this thing back onto the road so we can take a better look at how damaged it is, so we don't have all the bushes in the way. All right, so that door's fallen off. The hood has been popped up so you can't see nothing. That door looks all right, though. And then the rear window is kind of just floating around. I don't know what it's doing. Seems like it still drives fine, so let's try to tip it over again. We got a bump, which almost did something. It like scraped along, but it didn't actually roll or get damaged at all. That was kind of funny. It just lost all of its speed. So I guess on the next one, we actually have to go a little bit faster. So I'll make sure I get this thing up to speed. Then we try to tip it. 50 miles per hour. That's up to speed. Let's tip. Oh, it's got that grip instead. Okay. That's not what I expected at all. All right, well, here's try number 2 at the tip. It still got that grip, but it got that flip. We got all these words that rhyme right there for some reason. But that does kill the vehicle. Looking at the damage here, not that much different from before. The back window's in a little bit of a different position. Otherwise, not much to look at. So we're going to go ahead and try to do another crash. This time, we're going to go in the opposite direction. That way, you guys have something different to look at as we drive along and get up to speed. Not quite up to speed yet, so I don't want to tip over here. I am in full control of this vehicle. It looked like it was going to tip over, but I knew exactly what I was doing. Says man who thought he was going to tip over. All right, this would be a good straightaway to get up to speed. Now we just got to flip it over on the corner, going over 60 miles per hour and roll. Well, that's not going to roll, but it's going to flip somehow. Ooh, it's going to really flip and fly through the air, doing some nice rolls. And you know, one thing I'm noticing about the old Pigeon, I think because it's rounded maybe, but it likes to roll back onto its wheels a lot more than the more modern Pigeon. At least that's what it seems like. Every time it kind of ends up onto its side, it finds its way back onto its wheels and it keeps going, which does make it a lot more fun to drive because you keep wrecking it up for a long time this way. But don't tip over now. I don't want to wreck you just yet. We need to be going faster before I want to wreck it. Got a little bit of an uphill right here, so it's going to take me a second. Then we got the downhill. This is the perfect place to damage it. Oh, come on. Oh my goodness. How did it do that? It just kind of bounced its way around and didn't really get damaged too much at all until later in the crash. So now the tailgate is open. You can see the tailgate does work as a tailgate should. It flaps around after it gets busted open though, which is always kind of funny to watch. Really flapping around there. But we're back onto the road. We can keep on driving. This thing will not quit. It is a fighter. I think the best way to kill this thing is to actually crash it and not just roll it on its own. If you're rolling it on its own, it just keeps going. So how about a rock? Let's crash it right here. See if that does anything. Didn't really crash it after all. It just popped into the air again. It might still be going after that. Let's see. Oh, wait. Nope. I got no steering. So it could still put the power down, but it can't steer at all. I wonder if we could just accelerate out of this somehow. Well, no, it's actually pulling a little bit to the left into the rocks. I'm going to just pull this thing onto the road so we can take a final look at it before we reset it. And put it right there. Parking brake on. And damage here does look different than last time, but overall the damage does look reasonable, except for those pieces of glass. They're just kind of wherever. They look funny, don't know what they're doing. Let's take a break from crashing and do some comparisons. So we got the old Pigeon out already, so let's grab a more modern Pigeon, which is still pretty old. This thing came out in the 1980s, but the other one came out in the 1960s. So you'll notice the dimensions between these two vehicles is pretty much identical. The difference is in the shape of everything. The 1980s version is boxy and hard-edged all over the place, and then the 1960s one is smooth and soft-edged all over the place. Like, everything about this thing is nice, soft edges, and this one's just hard, angular edges. It's just kind of funny. They're a direct contrast in design. Like, even the fender flares on this thing are hard edges. This one's fender flares, though, they're nice and smooth and soft, and you could rub your face on it without getting cut. This one, though, you look at it and you get cut. It's so sharp-edged. But this one, see, the bed looks even nice and sharp. This one, the bed is like, it's smoothed out and relaxed. I don't know why the bed looks so bumpy. It has to actually be bumpy, right? Anyways, though, I want to drive these to somewhere else because there's not too much area to actually drive here. So why don't we move over to the ETK Driver Experience Center. I thought it might be interesting to see, can we tip the Pigeon over in the water? I'm thinking this thing is going to be stable enough where we can't tip it sliding around in the water, but we got to try it. And we got to go fast. That's why we're using the gasoline-powered version. I promise we will see the diesel version soon, but I want that speed for right here. So into the water, e-braking, churning hard, trying to make it tip. It doesn't even go up on the two wheels. It is rock solid stable if you're driving in the water. The only problem is then you have to worry about accidentally sliding out of control because the water is so slippery. It's very easy to do that. How much traction do we even have in the water? If we accelerate really hard, we can actually get going pretty well. I wasn't sure because these tires are so thin. Like bicycle tires on this thing, really. No, actually, I've seen bicycles with bigger tires. I take that back. And then look how easy it tips when you're not in the water. Oh, don't crash. Oh, that was perfect. We didn't even go into the dirt. Still didn't get in the dirt. We went over the... Oh, we're in the dirt. The rear tire went in the dirt. I wasn't looking at him. I was looking at the front. All right, well, we've been in the dirt, so we might as well just go through it again. Got some more water over here. This is kind of coming at a slope, so maybe we could tip it a little bit here. Oh, it was tipping, and then the water just saved it. That was amazing. The water is like the perfect anti-tipping mechanism. It looked like it was going to roll. It hit the water. It leveled out a bit, but then it rolled again once it got out of the water. I really didn't expect it to be that good at stopping the tipping. All right, I want to just wreck this thing now, so I'm going to just slam into the wall over here. Going to be going about highway speeds. Get the slow-mo started up. Do 16 times slow-mo and wreck. That actually wasn't so bad. It looks like overall, it gets about as damaged as the modern Pigeon does, which makes sense. It is based on that vehicle after all. And we got no steering right now. I'm trying to back this thing up so we can get a closer look at the damage on the front, and it's slowly but surely getting its way up this hill. There we go. Now you can see the damage there. Pretty beat up, if you ask me. Everything else looks pretty good, though. So how about we finally move over to the diesel version of the vehicle? This one is much slower. The last one, when we were driving to the water, we got up to about 50 to 60 miles per hour, if I remember correctly. With this one, it's not going to be nearly as fast. This one gets up to about 40 miles per hour before it gets to the water. And if we couldn't tip it at 60 miles per hour, we ain't going to tip it at 40 miles per hour. But we can tip it on the normal roads, no problem. You can always tip a Pigeon. That's the secret. So like right here, just accelerate a little bit, get some traction going, and tip. No problem there. Ooh. Is it actually going to stay upside down? It is. That's the first time I've seen it do that, actually. You know, this gives me an idea, though. Can we use this as a ramp? We need a big off-roady car. So how about the D15 off-roader? Can we jump it like a ramp using this car? I have no idea. This is a really, really dumb idea, but we gotta try it. So back this thing up to get up to speed. That's about as far as we can go in this position. If it doesn't work, we can try it from a different position. So here we go. We're gonna hit it at about 50 miles per hour. Come on. Kind of worked. It got it up a little bit like it's popping a wheelie, but it does not fly like a ramp normally would. We did ruin it in the process, I'm pretty sure, though. It might end up upright, though, so we can see if it still drives. Yeah, it's upright there, so abandon the truck. And, ooh, it is destroyed. And unfortunately, it cannot put down the power. The engine still revs, but it can't put down power. But it got me thinking, though. What if we had more speed and more ground clearance? Could we do this? So I'm going to flip over the Pigeon again. And then I'm going to go and swap out that pickup truck as long as this thing looks good. That looks pretty good. So we're going to swap out the pickup truck for the custom version of the hopper because that's the most off-roady stock vehicle that there is. And then we just got to get up to speed. I know we won't be going as fast as we could be going in the truck, but I don't think the speed was necessarily the problem. I think just more ground clearance will be more helpful than more speed. So spinning around right here should be able to get us up to, I would say, well, it is a little bit of an uphill, so maybe 70 miles per hour. Because it's really hard to get traction through the water. You see, we're barely accelerating through here. It's going to be about 70 as I thought, a little bit over it, so not bad speeds. And then, just one side. We only want to hit it with the wheel. And no, that does not work as a ramp still. It just gets pushed away because it's too light. So this is giving me a slightly different idea that we still need to try after this. But first, can it still drive after the impact? It looks like it got a little bit less damage that time than the previous one. So let's see. Yeah, it can drive. It's not controllable at all because it is so crooked, but you can drive it. You're not going to go very fast either, it seems like. And yeah, when you start going fast, you just kind of lose control and it rolls a bit. So one more look at the damage before we go ahead and pop this thing back over. And now what I gotta do is I gotta flip this thing over right in front of a wall. So the wall can work as a backing for me so I don't slide away when I use the car as a ramp. I know, this is a really dumb idea and I keep trying it, but I think it might work this time. This is the best chance at it working. So this could be the wall right here, and the basic goal is to get a vehicle over that wall using just this Pigeon. And I gotta say, I really like when the lights fall out. It looks kind of funny just having that hold there, but I like how funny it looks. So I'll park this here. We'll grab it by the front and then flip it. It goes nice and slow, nice and gentle. Okay. And we bring it as close as we can over to the wall so it doesn't shift about. I think we can bring it a little bit closer now that it's leveled out a little. So real close to the wall. Perfect. And where is this hopper? He's upside down, but I probably want him over in this area, so we'll just reset the position. We got a long way to go, but it might just work as a ramp this time. I'm going to try just one side of the vehicle once again, though, because that does increase the odds of it working. If it at least gets over the vehicle, that's a good sign. So here we go. Just the one wheel, 16 times slow-mo. Nope, it still does not work. Now we just completely ruin it. Alright, I can officially say it does not work as a ramp. As cool as it would be, it does not work. Somehow the engine still, it doesn't just rev up, it actually rotates the wheels. That is super surprising. Obviously, we're not going anywhere considering the whole front is just mangled. Like, I don't even think the front wheel will touch the ground, it's so badly beat up, but yeah, that was a fun thing. Didn't work out the way I was hoping, but it was fun. One thing I should mention is, unfortunately, you are not able to swap parts between the 1970s version and the more modern version because the frames are different. So all the parts listed here are just for the 1960s version, and if you want the more modern one, you need to swap out the frame. You do have part options here available to you, though. Like, you can remove the bed of the vehicle, you can remove the body, you can change the engine, you can move any of the little bits you would normally expect to be able to remove. And I was curious, though, is the frame actually different? And the answer is yes. There is some difference in the shape. Even the frame is a little bit more curvy, especially right here in the front. You can see it's curved to fit the more curved body panels on the 1960 version. So let's really take a close look at the bed. Is it curved or not? I gotta figure this out. Okay, yeah. There is no doubt about it. There is some bumps in the bed of this thing. I can say that with 100% certainty from this camera angle, this is not flat. And I have no idea why it's like that. It gives it a very unique look. Let's see how it does storing some stuff in it. So what's small enough to stuff into a Pigeon? Maybe one hay bale. It's funny, you get a truck, you put like a dozen hay bales in there. Pigeon's like, maybe one will fit. I'm not really sure. So let's teleport it in. That is not gonna work. Although that might work. Now that it's tipped upright, it'll fit a little bit better. I think it's gonna just be too tall. Oh yeah, that's too tall. Well, what we can do is we can at least attach it by force. So we just grab the node and attach. Grab the other node, make it a little bit stronger so it actually gets into the bed and attach. And there we go. We now have the hay bale somehow loaded into the Pigeon. Now driving, on the other hand, that's probably going to be a different story. And ooh, this thing could pop a wheelie, it looked like. Oh, look at that. It's a little wheelie, but if you kind of bounce it, yeah. And the camera automatically zooms out, I guess, because it can tell I'm basically towing something, even though it's just in the bed of the vehicle. That's interesting. Because, yeah, that's just the way the camera is now. But the cool thing is that you can actually pop a wheelie with the stuff in it. I had never tried this before with a Pigeon, but that's great. Look how long that wheelie was. That was huge. Oh, there's a pole in the way. I was busy watching the wheelie and not paying attention where I was going. I was great, though. I don't think I can do much better here, so why don't we move to a different map? We'll go over to Brutal Slope. I really hope this thing is able to stay upright the whole way down Brutal Slope, though. It's going to be very, very sketchy, and I will not be surprised if it's nearly impossible to keep it upright if the tires pop. Because with pop tires, it's going to be so unpredictable, I have no idea what's going to happen. You know, it could be so unpredictable it actually drives perfectly. It's not likely, but I guess it is possible. As usual, we start off nice and easy at the starting point, and then we floor it and go as fast as we possibly can. And I have no idea what this thing is actually geared to go. Looks like 5 gears. The top's out at about 110 miles per hour. We keep accelerating, or if we wanted to, we could just clutch in. Doesn't really matter what you do. You get about the same speed either way. And since this car topped out so early and it's kind of on the lighter side, we're not going to go that fast, it looks like. Looks like we're going to hit the wall at only maybe 160 miles per hour. It's much slower than you'd usually get at Brutal Slope, but here is the impact, getting the slow-mo going. And crash. And the camera is freaking out as always. I didn't take the camera off of the car like I usually would. I thought maybe since this one was smaller and it was going slower, it wouldn't freak out as bad, but it's still doing some crazy nonsense right here. If we go to full speed, it should make it better, though. Oh, what the heck is going on? It's all bouncing right there. That looks wacky. Don't know what that's about, but yeah, okay. Anyways, let's go to the final map we're going to be going on, which is Leap of Death. And even though Brutal Slope turned out way easier than expected, this should be even easier, because we only have to drive like a quarter mile at most. This is not a very long road to the ramp. It's probably way less than a quarter mile, even now that I think about it. Anyways, here we go. We're going to hit the ramp at about 53 miles per hour. And look how level this thing is staying. Oh, now it's tipping backwards, even though I'm accelerating. I guess there's a lot more weight in the rear of this thing than the front because the engine is so far back, and then the fuel tank as well. Makes sense. So anyways, full slow-mo on the first impact. A nice flat landing. Like, that was perfectly level. And it's coming away with less damage than I thought it would. I guess because it's so lightweight, it's able to sustain something like this a little bit better than a lot of those heavier vehicles are. All right, is it going to keep going or is it going to stop? It's going to keep going, so we'll go full speed for the rest of it. I expect all these little bumps and bruises will completely annihilate it, though. I'm curious, do the wheels still spin if I accelerate? Nope, they do not. The engine has already been disconnected, and now one of the wheels has been disconnected. Engine still revs up, though. It's not giving up yet. I'm not exactly sure how, considering the fuel tank has been so mangled, all the fuel probably would have dripped out by now. You can still rev it, though. You can't stop me from ever revving. All right, the frame is almost completely separated from the body. It might happen on any impact here, or it might just be a little bit mangled together where it's not gonna. We'll see. Looks like it's just gonna laze its way. Oh, there we go. We got it disconnected. And that will do it for this video. There is the frame. And until next time, this has been WhyBeAre. I'll see ya.